Hi, my name is Krisha, and I've been a gestational surrogate 3 times through Hawaii Surrogacy Center. Our life before surrogacy was myself, my husband, and our 2 kids, and we had been in Hawaii only about 2 years. And at the time, we thought our family was complete. I had my daughter, who was 9 or 10 at the time, and my son was 8. Yeah, we had just moved to Hawaii. I'd been thinking about surrogacy for a while and started looking into it. When I approached my husband, Sean, about surrogacy, he was pretty much on board 100%. He's always told me that it's my body. I can do whatever I want when it comes to things like childbirth and pregnancy and all that. He didn't understand maybe surrogacy fully at first. You know, they often think that I'll be using, or you'll be using your own egg, and will it be his DNA? But after I told him what gestational surrogacy was, and that it would be somebody else's egg and sperm, he was really on board. He was like, "Yeah, let's do it." I don't really have a definitive moment or thing that led me to do surrogacy. I've always kind of been interested in caring for somebody else, just because my pregnancies were on the easier side and labor and delivery was not complicated, and I've always wanted to help another woman carry a child if she couldn't carry for herself. For my first set of IPs, for my first 2 journeys, I went through the interview process through Hawaii Surrogacy Center. They were my second couple that both my husband and I interviewed, and it just felt right. They were an older couple, and we could tell that they were a little reserved just because they had been through a lot of heartache and almost a decade of trying to conceive on their own. We felt like we just wanted to be the ones to help them start their family. Of course, it was an easy yes when they had asked us to do their sibling journey as well, which was a lot of fun. And coming back to the same set of IPs after first journey felt right. For my second set of IPs, a little bit of a funny story. I'd been working at the same company for almost 10 years, and I had a customer that we've had for pretty much since I've been working at my company. She called me up one day and she was like, "Krisha, I have a question for you. It's a personal question." So I was a little nervous. She was like, "I have these wonderful neighbors. They're looking for a surrogate, and I know that you've done that in the past." And I knew this customer to be really friendly and nice, and so I trusted her, and we set up a date and time to meet her neighbors. And Sean and I we knew right away that we wanted to help them carry their second child. So they had a previous surrogate who moved out of the country, and we would be doing their sibling journey for them, but it just felt right. We met up with them, and yeah, we decided to move ahead. For the most part, the feedback that I got from friends and family was pretty positive. A lot of, "Oh my God, you're so awesome," or "That's so great of you, how nice." I think the only hesitation I got was from my dad. It's not that he wasn't supportive, but I don't think he fully understood what it meant to be a gestational surrogate. He did ask me a few times, "Is this going to be one of my grandchildren? What does this mean?" And then I had to send him some articles and some information about what it meant to be a gestational surrogate. And even then, he was still a little hesitant. And I don't think it was fully until I went into labor and delivery, my first journey, and he saw pictures of the baby, and he was like, "Okay, that doesn't look like you. This is a totally different thing than I originally thought." And he was like, "Okay, I'm on board." And my other 2 journeys he was fully supportive, and it was a lot easier. But for the most part, everybody has been totally for it and positive and supportive. I received a lot of support from Hawaii Surrogacy Center in the form of the case managers that I was given for all three of my journeys. I had one case manager for my first two, and then I had a different one for my third. They were both pretty similar. They were always texting me, asking me what I needed. They would accompany me to my appointments, especially if I didn't have anybody who could go with me, which I usually did have. But I even had Rebecca on my third journey who held my hand during my transfer, which was pretty awesome. I've also had support from the owner, Andrea herself. She sent me emails and would respond to my questions if I had any. And then there was the attorneys as well, who are always so helpful and nice and supportive. So they're pretty much there for you every step of the way. One of my favorite memories from one of my journeys was when we did the confirmation ultrasound on my second journey for my first set of IPs. So it was the sibling journey. And I'll never forget when we all found out that it was going to be twins. It was very silent when the doctor said, "There's two in there." And we all looked at each other and we were like, "Twins!" So that was something I'll never forget. And then for the most part, one of the most memorable and amazing experiences, of course, is the birth itself. And each one will truly go down as, one of the most memorable events of my life, aside from my own children, of course. But yeah, it's an amazing experience. Surrogacy pregnancy was a little bit different than what I had expected. There's a lot more appointments involved. Obviously, there's IVF, which has a strict schedule and lots of different doctors involved, clinics, your OB, other people attending appointments with you, including other parents, coordinators, but it was all good. And I found surrogacy pregnancies to be less stressful than my regular pregnancies. Not that I didn't care for this pregnancy as much, because I actually treated these pregnancies like they were my own, like I was carrying my own child, and how I cared for myself and my body. But I think that it was less stressful knowing that I didn't have to prepare for baby. We didn't have to do any nesting. We didn't have to buy diapers and stuff. And even the recovery is easier when you don't have to care for a baby as well. For people looking to become surrogates, I actually have two pieces of advice I would give. The first is to be patient. Becoming a surrogate and starting a family for somebody else is a long process. There's a lot of I's to dot, T's to cross with contracts and IVF, and then with the pregnancy. I know a lot of surrogates are ready to go and want to get it started and want to have the baby, but I would just say be patient and enjoy the journey from start to finish. And then another piece of advice I would give is follow your IVF schedules 100% to a T. What they tell you, they write it down for you, date, time, everything, milligrams. Follow it all to a T. IVF is a science, and it's all about timing. And if you want to give your IPs the best chance, I would say to follow everything as they say and take it seriously. I have 3 children, and I've had to kind of explain to them a little bit about surrogacy for each of my journeys. My first journey, my daughter was 7 and my son was 5, so they were young, but I think they were old enough to understand that I was carrying a baby for somebody else. They had a lot of questions, and I actually took my oldest with me to some of the appointments, and she was able to see the other parents there and know that it was their baby. And my first 2 children quickly caught on and understood. And then I had my third child between my first and second journey. So when I did the sibling journey, she was still too young to understand. I mean, she was just a little baby. And then for my third journey, my youngest was 3 and 4, well, in between 3 and 4. And she kind of understood that I had a baby. She had questions like, will this be my brother or sister? But I made sure to let her know, you know, mommy's caring for somebody else. This isn't your brother or sister. This is more like a cousin, or like I'm like almost an auntie. Kind of like I had to explain it to her like that. But she now understands, and she asks about the baby from time to time, but I think she's caught on now, and she understands that mommy was caring for somebody else. For all three of my journeys, we had pretty great relationships with our IPs. The first and second journeys were with the same couple, and they came to every appointment. I actually got lucky enough to have IPs for all three of my journeys that actually lived here in Hawaii, and were able to attend every appointment and be a part of the whole process from start to finish. And they would come to all the appointments. They would text me, are you doing okay? How are you feeling today? So they were always checking up on me, always making sure I was doing okay. And actually that went for my third journey as well. All three of them, they always checked up on me. They always attended all the appointments. Afterwards, it was a little different. My first two IPs, well, my first IPs for my first two journeys, they still keep in touch from time to time. They email me, maybe on the holidays, with pictures and updates, which is totally okay. I'm okay with just photos and updates. And then my IPs from my third journey, which is more recent, it's actually still going. We have family court coming up next month, but they're always texting me, asking me how I'm doing still, and sending me photos and wishing me happy holidays. So it's kind of the same right now with them. I'm pretty happy at where I'm at with all of my IPs. One of the most common questions I received during my surrogacies, actually all of them, was, how could you give away a baby that you've been carrying for 9 months? I couldn't do that. You know, in a way, I think they're really trying to compliment me, but in a way it makes me look almost like I don't have any emotions or feelings about it, but I do. I don't see it as carrying a baby and giving it away. I see it as carrying a baby for somebody else and handing them off to their new family who has been wanting them for so long. And I think that there's a reason why there's a selection process for surrogates. Maybe not every woman or person could be a surrogate. Maybe some people couldn't do it. I think one of the most awkward parts about my journey was actually when I returned from maternity leave for my journeys. And I work for a company that has offices all through the United States, and I converse with different people via email all the time. And when I returned from my maternity leave, a lot of them were like, oh, you're back, congratulations, can we see photos? And I would tell them, oh, I don't have any photo, you know, it wasn't my baby. And they were like, oh, and then I would go into more about surrogacy, but it was just kind of like that, you know, that awkward pause, like, oh, it wasn't your baby. But after I told them what I did, they were very supportive and happy for me and the families. But at first it was like, oh, congrats.